The Great Hall of the Galactic Assembly was huge beyond belief. The ceiling was so high that it faded into darkness above. Thousands of strange beings filled the space like a sea of alien life. Some had long tentacles that moved like water. Orcs walked on 6 legs with bright green eyes. Many had shapes that were hard to look at without feeling dizzy. HFY stood on the small human platform and felt tiny. His black hair was neat and his blue uniform was clean, but he still felt like a small child among giants. Humans had only joined the assembly 5 years ago. Most species here had been traveling between stars for thousands of years. A deep voice filled the hall. It seemed to come from everywhere at once. "The Void Keeper has spoken again," the voice announced. Every being in the hall went quiet. Even the biggest aliens seemed to get smaller. HFY had heard whispers about the Void Keeper before, but he thought they were just scary stories told to new species. "The ancient challenge still stands," the voice continued. "Any being who can get close to the Void Keeper's core and touch it will receive 3 star systems as a prize. The entity waits in the Void Sector, as it has for 1,000 years. A tall alien with blue skin and 4 arms stepped forward. This was Ambassador Velkin from the Helix Empire. His people had ruled 50 star systems for 3,000 years. "Honored." "Assembly," Velkin said in a deep voice, "we must be honest about this. The Void Keeper has killed everyone who tried this challenge. It drives beings crazy with fear. It makes them disappear forever. Even our strongest fighters and smartest minds have failed." Sounds of agreement came from the crowd. HFY saw how many aliens were looking down at the floor or staring at the walls. None of them wanted to look at each other when talking about the Void Keeper. "The Caltharian Empire sent their best general," said another alien covered in silver. Scales, he came back speaking strange words about horrible things beyond understanding. He died 3 days later, still screaming. The Quen Collective tried to send a smart machine, added a 3rd alien that looked like a walking piece of crystal. The computer became broken within hours. It started sending messages about the end of everything before it stopped working forever. HFY listened to one terrible story after another. Each tale was worse than the last. The Void Keeper sounded like death itself, waiting in the dark space between stars. "Perhaps," Velkin said slowly, "it is time to accept that this challenge cannot be won. The Void Keeper offers 3 star systems, but what good are star systems if no one lives to claim them?" Many aliens moved their heads in agreement. Some made sounds that probably meant yes in their languages. HFY felt something wake up inside his chest. He thought about Earth and humanity's long history of doing things that seemed impossible. He thought about his ancestors who sailed across oceans in wooden ships, who climbed the tallest mountains, who flew to the moon with computers weaker than a phone. He took a step forward. "The human delegation would like to accept the challenge," he said clearly. The Great Hall became silent as death. Then, slowly, a sound began to grow. It was laughter, but not happy laughter. It was the laughter of beings who had seen something so stupid that they could not believe it was real. "The humans?" Velkin asked. All 4 arms spread wide in shock. "You have been traveling in space for less than 100 years. You have never left your own solar system without our help. You think you can succeed where ancient empires have? Failed. Your species barely knows how to use fire properly," said the crystal alien. "You still fight wars by throwing pieces of metal at each other. You think this makes you ready for the Void Keeper?" HFY felt his face get hot with embarrassment, but he kept his voice calm. "We would like to try," he said. The laughter got louder. Some aliens were making sounds that might have been their way of crying from too much laughter. "This is crazy," Velkin said. "The humans do not understand what they are asking for. The Void Keeper does not just kill. It makes beings wish they had never been born. It shows them truths about the universe that break their minds into pieces. Then why has no one destroyed it?" HFY asked. The laughter stopped immediately. The hall became quiet again, but this time it was a different kind of quiet. It was the quiet of beings who had been asked a question they could not answer. Velkin's 4 arms moved in confusion. "Destroy it?" "The Void Keeper is older than most stars. It has power that cannot be measured. It lives in a place where the laws of science do not work. You cannot destroy something like that. But you can try to touch it?" Haiyan asked.
That is different,
The crystal alien said.
Ah.
But its voice did not sound sure anymore. Haiyan thought about this carefully. Every species in the galaxy was afraid of the Void Keeper. They told stories about how terrible it was, how it destroyed everyone who tried to reach it. But none of them had ever tried to fight it. They just accepted that it was there, waiting, daring them to come close enough to touch. Has anyone ever tried to talk to it? He asked. Talk to it? Velkin laughed, but it sounded fake. Young human, the Void Keeper is not something you can have a conversation with. It is like a force of nature. You might as well try to chat with a black hole, but it gives challenges, Haiyan pointed out. It offers rewards. Things that are just forces of nature do not make deals with people. Several aliens moved uncomfortably. Haiyan realized he had said something that made them think, and they did not like thinking about it. The human delegation keeps its position, Haiyan said firmly. We accept the challenge. The great voice spoke again from everywhere and nowhere. The human species has accepted the Void Keeper's challenge. Normal rules will be followed. The humans have 30 local days to get ready. The assembly will watch from the safe distance. As the meeting ended and aliens began to leave, Haiyan heard them talking in their own languages. He could not understand the words, but he could hear the feelings in their voices. Some sounded worried. Others sounded excited, like they were looking forward to seeing what would happen to the foolish humans. Velkin came over to him as the crowd got smaller. Young ambassador, he said quietly, I hope you understand what you have done. Your species is about to send someone to die. The Void Keeper has never shown mercy. It has never shown kindness. It only destroys. Haiyan looked up at the tall blue alien. Then why do you keep the challenge open? Why does the assembly not just say it is impossible and forget about it? Velkin was quiet for a long moment. His forearms hung at his sides. Because he said finally, somewhere deep inside, we all hope that someone might succeed. We hope that someone might prove that the impossible can become possible after all. He walked away with slow steps, leaving Haiyan alone in the great hall. Outside, the stars were waiting, and somewhere among them, the Void Keeper was waiting too. Jinwoo sat in the pilot seat of the small human ship called Hope's Edge. The controls were simple compared to alien technology, but they worked. Behind him, screens showed readouts in basic human numbers and words. Everything was built to be easy to understand and fix. Systems check complete, said Myra's voice through the radio. She was back on the human space station, watching everything from the control room. All green lights, Jinwoo. How are you feeling? Like I'm about to do something very stupid, Jinwoo replied, but he was smiling. He had been a soldier before, becoming an explorer. He was used to doing things that seemed impossible. Remember, came another voice through the radio. This was Do-yoon from Mission Control on Earth. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. Just go as far as you can, and come back safe. Jinwoo looked out the front window of his ship. Space looked normal here, full of stars and distant galaxies. But ahead of him, about 6 hours away, was the Void Sector. That was where the Void Keeper waited, beginning approach to the Void Sector. He said into his radio, all systems still working fine. He pushed the throttle forward and felt the ship speed up. The human ship was not the fastest or the strongest, but it was built tough. Human engineers had learned to make things that could take a beating and keep working. As he flew, Jinwoo thought about the past few weeks. After Haiyan had accepted the challenge, the human government had asked for volunteers. Hundreds of people had said yes. They picked Jinwoo because he was calm under pressure and good at thinking on his feet. The aliens had been watching the human preparations with interest. Some seemed worried. Others acted like they were watching a sad movie and already knew how it would end. Jinwoo, Mira's voice came through the radio again. I'm reading some strange energy patterns ahead of you. Nothing dangerous yet, but space is starting to look different. Jinwoo looked at his instruments. The numbers were still normal, but something felt wrong. The stars ahead of him looked twisted, like he was seeing them through water. I see it, he said. Space looks bent somehow. That's the edge of the Void Sector, Do-yoon said. According to the alien data, that's where reality starts to break down. You can still turn back. Not yet, Jinwoo said. He thought about his sister Nari, who had helped design the ship's special shielding. She had worked for months to create something that might protect him from whatever the Void Keeper could do. "Remember what we talked about?" Nara's voice came. Through the radio, she was in the control room with Mira. "The shielding isn't just metal and energy fields. It's designed to keep your mind stable too. If you start seeing things that don't make sense, trust the ship more than your eyes." Jinwoo nodded, even though she couldn't see him. "Got it." "How much further?" "About 4 hours to the center of the Void Sector," Mira said. "That's where the alien records say the Void Keeper's core is located." As he flew deeper into the strange space, Jinwoo started to see things that made no sense. Stars that were too bright, planets that looked like they were made of glass, and empty spaces that seemed to pull at his eyes. "Jinwoo," Doyan's voice sounded worried. "Your ship's readings are getting strange. The computer says you're in 3 different places at once." "I feel fine," Jinwoo said, though his head was starting to hurt a little. "The ship is still flying straight." He remembered a story his grandfather had told him about the old days on Earth. During a terrible war, soldiers had to walk through a jungle where the enemy was hiding. They couldn't see the danger, but they knew it was there. It's the ones who survived were the ones who kept walking forward, no matter how scared they were. "Contact in 3 hours," Mira said. "Jinwoo, I want you to know that everyone on Earth is proud of you. Whatever happens, you've already done something amazing." "Thanks," Jinwoo said, "but I'm not done yet." Space around him was getting stranger. He saw colors that didn't have names and shapes that hurt to look at. His instruments were showing impossible readings. According to the computer, he was flying through solid rock, empty space, and burning plasma all at the same time. Nari was right, he said to himself. Trust the ship, not the eyes. He focused on the controls and ignored what he was seeing outside the window. The ship was still responding normally. The engine was still running. The life support was still working. Those were the things that mattered. "Jinwoo," came a new voice through the radio. It was Hyen, the ambassador who had accepted the challenge. "I know this is hard, but remember why you're doing this. Humans have always been good at one thing. We don't give up." Jinwoo smiled at that. It was true, throughout human history. People had done impossible things just because they refused to quit. It sailed across unknown oceans, climbed mountains that touched the sky, and eventually reached the stars. 2 hours to contact, Mira said. Her voice sounded different. Now, like she was trying not to be scared, the strange effects were getting stronger. Jinwoo could hear voices speaking in languages he didn't know. He could see faces in the darkness between stars. Sometimes he thought he saw other ships, the ones that had tried this challenge before and failed. "It's trying to scare me," he said. Out loud? "What?" Doyan asked. "The Void Keeper. It's trying to make me afraid. It's showing me things to make me turn back." "Are you afraid?" Nari asked. Jinwoo thought about it. "Yes," he said, "but I'm going to keep flying anyway." That was the human way. Not to be fearless, but to be afraid and do the right thing anyway. Fear was just information. It told you that something was dangerous, but it didn't tell you to run away. 1 hour. To contact, Mira said. "Jinwoo, we're losing some signal strength. The void sector is interfering with our communication." "I hear you," Jinwoo said. "If I lose radio contact, I'll keep flying toward the center. That's where the Void Keeper is waiting." "Good luck, brother," Doyan said. "Come home safe," Nari added.
Owie.
"You soon," Myra said. Jinwoo looked ahead at the twisted space in front of him. Somewhere in that chaos was the Void Keeper, the ancient entity that had scared the galaxy for 1,000 years. It had destroyed everyone who had tried to reach it. But none of those other challengers had been human. 30 minutes to contact, he said to himself, checking his instruments one more time. Everything was still working. The ship was still flying. True. He thought about Earth, about the blue oceans and white clouds. He thought about his family and friends, all watching and hoping. He thought about the future, about what might happen if he succeeded. But mostly, he just kept flying forward into the dark, unknown space ahead. Jinwoo's ship shook as it entered the heart of the void sector. The radio was full of static now, and he could barely hear the voices from home. Outside his window, Reality itself seemed to be breaking apart. "Can anyone hear me?" he said into his radio. Only crackling sounds came back. He was alone now, floating in a space where the laws of physics didn't work properly. His instruments showed readings that made no sense. The computer said he was flying through a star and empty space at the same time. Then something spoke to him. It wasn't a voice he heard with his ears. It was a voice that appeared directly in his mind, deep and ancient and full of power. "Another foolish being comes to me," the voice said. "Do you know what you have done, little human? Do you know what I am?" Jinwoo felt his heart beating fast, but he kept his hands steady on the controls. "I'm here for the challenge," he said. Out loud, "I want to touch your core." Laughter filled his mind. It was not a happy sound. It was the laughter of something that had seen 1,000 civilizations rise and fall. "You want to touch my core?" the voice asked. "You know what happened to the others who tried? Let me show you." The space around Jinwoo's ship changed. Suddenly, he could see other ships, dozens of them, all heading toward the same destination. These were the challengers who had come before him. He watched as a huge warship from the Caltharian Empire approached. It was 10 times bigger than his little ship, covered in weapons and shields. But as it got closer to the center of the void sector, something terrible happened. The ship's commander started screaming. Jinwoo couldn't hear the words, but he could see the fear on the alien's face through the ship's window. The commander was looking at something that filled him with horror. His crew tried to help him, but soon they were all screaming too. The ship turned around and fled, but it was too late. The commander died 3 days later, his mind broken by what he had seen. "That was a warrior from a race that had conquered 50 worlds, the voice said. "What makes you think you can do better?" Jinwoo watched as another ship approached. This one belonged to the Quen Collective, a species that had replaced their brains with computers. They thought their artificial minds would be safe from whatever the Void Keeper could do. They were wrong. The ship's computer started sending out messages about the end of all things. The artificial intelligence that had been calm and logical for centuries suddenly began talking about cosmic horrors beyond understanding. Within hours, the computer shut itself down rather than keep thinking about what it had learned. "Even machines cannot handle the truth I show them," the voice said. "Your soft organic brain will break like glass." More ships appeared around Jinwoo. He saw species he recognized from the Galactic Assembly and others he had never seen before. All of them had tried to reach the Void Keeper's core. All of them had failed. Some went insane. Others simply disappeared. A few made it back to their home worlds, but they were never the same. They spoke in whispers about things that lived in the spaces between stars, about truths that should never be known. "This is what happens to those who challenge me," the voice said. "This is what will happen to you." Jinwoo felt fear rising in his chest, but he also felt something else, anger. "You're trying to scare me," he said. "You're showing me all this to make me turn back." "I am showing you the truth," the voice replied. "I am showing you what you will become." "No," Jinwoo said, pushing his ship forward. "You're showing me what happened to them. It doesn't mean it will happen to me." The images around him changed. Now he could see Earth, but it was not the Earth he knew. This Earth was dying. The oceans were boiling away. The cities were in ruins. Humans were running and screaming as their world burned. "This is what will happen to your species when you fail," the voice said. "Your weakness will doom them all." Jinwoo felt tears on his face, but he kept flying. "That's not real," he said. "That's just another trick." "Look closer," the voice commanded. The image zoomed in on the dying Earth. Jinwoo could see faces now. There was his sister Nari, running from something terrible. There was Mira, crying as she held a broken radio. There was Doyen trying to help people escape as the sky fell down. "This is their future because of your pride," the voice said. "Turn back now, and they will live. Continue forward, and they will all die." Jinwoo closed his eyes. He thought about his childhood friend Salmon, who had always believed in him. Even when he failed tests in school or made mistakes, she had always said he could do better next time. Would Salmon say, he asked himself, she would say that fear was just fear. She would say that the images in his mind were not real, until he made them real. She would tell him to think about what he knew for sure, not what he was afraid might happen. What did he know for sure? He knew that his ship was still flying. He knew that his instruments, despite their strange readings, were still working. He knew that back on Earth, people were counting on him. He also knew something else. The Void Keeper was trying very hard. To make him quit? It was showing him terrible things and telling him scary stories. But if it was truly all-powerful, why did it need to do that? Why didn't it just destroy him like it had destroyed the others? Can't actually hurt me, Jinwoo said suddenly. Can you? The voice in his mind went quiet for a moment. What did you say? It can't hurt me, Jinwoo repeated, feeling more confident. You can show me scary pictures and tell me sad stories, but you can't actually stop me from flying to your core. I have destroyed thousands of beings, the voice said, but it sounded different now, less certain. No, Jinwoo said, scared. Them into destroying themselves. Showed them things that broke their minds, and they chose to run away or give up. But you didn't actually hurt them. They hurt themselves. The images around him began to fade. The dying Earth, the failed challengers. All of it started to disappear like smoke. You're lonely, Jinwoo said with sudden understanding. You've been alone out here for 1,000 years, and everyone who comes to see you runs away screaming. You make them afraid because you don't know how to do anything else. Silence. The voice roared in his mind. You know nothing. But Jinwoo was smiling now. He remembered stories his grandfather had told him about bullies. The meanest bullies were often the ones who were most afraid inside. They acted tough to hide how weak they really felt. Not going to run away, he said. I'm going to keep flying toward your core, and when I get there, I'm going to touch it. And maybe we can talk about why you're so scared of everyone. The voice said nothing, but Jinwoo could feel anger and confusion coming from it. This was not how things were supposed to go. Other challengers had always broken by now. His ship kept flying forward, deeper into the void sector. The strange effects were still there, but they didn't seem as frightening anymore. There were just lights and colors and impossible shapes behind. Yet all Jinwoo could sense something else. Something that felt very old and very tired and very, very alone. I'm coming, he said quietly, and I'm not afraid of you anymore. The Void Keeper's anger hit Jinwoo like a wave. Space around his ship began to twist and bend in ways that hurt to look at. Stars stretched into long lines of light. Empty space turned solid, then liquid, then became something that had no name. You. Think you understand me, little human? The voice roared in his mind. Let me show you what I really am. Jinwoo's ship shook as reality itself attacked him. The walls of his cabin began to melt and reform. His instruments showed impossible readings. According to the computer, he was flying backward through time while also standing still, but the ship kept flying forward. Nari built this ship well, Jinwoo said to himself, holding tight to the controls. His sister had spent months designing shields that could protect both his body and his mind from attacks like this. The Void Keeper's assault grew stronger. Jinwoo could see things moving in the corners of his eyes, dark shapes that whispered about the futility of hope, bright lights that screamed about the meaninglessness of existence. Look at what you really are, the voice demanded. Look at your species. You are violent and cruel. You destroy your own planet. You fight wars over pieces of land. You let people starve while others have too much food. Images filled Jinwoo's mind. He saw human soldiers shooting at each other. He saw cities full of smoke and fire. He saw children crying because they had no food, while rich people threw away meals they didn't want. This is what you are, the voice continued. This is what humanity truly is. How can beings like you hope to touch something pure and ancient like my core? The images were real. Jinwoo knew that. Humans had done terrible things throughout their history. They had been cruel and selfish and stupid, but they had also been something else. You're only showing me part of the story, Jinwoo said, pushing his ship through another wave of twisted space. What about the rest? There is no rest, the voice said. There is only darkness and cruelty and the slow death of hope. No, Jinwoo said firmly. There's more. He thought about Taeyeon, an old philosopher who had taught him about human nature. Taeyeon had said that humans were not good or evil, or both at the same time, and they got to choose which part of themselves they wanted to feed. Show me the doctors who work all night to save strangers, Jinwoo said. Show me the teachers who spend their own money to buy food for hungry students.
Show me.
Show me the people who risk their lives to save others from burning buildings.
Show me the dark.
Images in his mind flickered. Show me the parents who work 3 jobs to give their children a better life. Show me the volunteers who clean up parks and beaches for free. Show me the people who adopt children who have no one else. The images began to change. Now Jinwoo could see other moments from human history. A nurse helping wounded soldiers from both sides of a war. A teacher in a poor village, using her own savings to buy books for her students. A firefighter running into a burning building to save people he had never met. This is also what we are, Jinwoo said. We do terrible things, but we also do beautiful things. We make mistakes, but we try to learn from them. We fall down, but we get back up. The voice was quiet for a moment. When it spoke again, it sounded confused. Why do you not despair? Why do you not see the hopelessness of it all? Because hopelessness is a choice, Jinwoo said. He thought about a letter he had received from Jiwon, a young cadet who wanted to be an explorer like him. She had written about her dreams of seeing other worlds and meeting alien species. Her words had been full of excitement and wonder. Young humans like Jiwon still believe the universe is full of amazing things, he said. They still think we can make friends with aliens and explore new worlds and solve problems that seem impossible. Maybe they're right. Space around his ship was still twisting and changing, but it seemed less violent now. The attacks were still coming, but they felt more like questions than weapons. You do not understand, the voice said. I have seen the end of everything. I have watched stars die and galaxies fade into nothing. I have seen the universe grow cold and empty. There is no hope. There is no purpose. There is only the slow march toward darkness. Maybe, Jinwoo said. But that's not today. Today, stars are still shining. Today, planets are still spinning. Today, people are still being born and falling in love and discovering new things. Today still matters. His ship broke through another barrier of twisted space. According to his instruments, he was getting closer to the center of the void sector, closer to the Void Keeper's core. You will fail, the voice said, but it sounded tired now. Even if you reach my core, even if you touch it, what will you have accomplished? The universe will still end. The stars will still die. Nothing you do will matter in the end. You're probably right, Jinwoo said. But I'm not trying to save the universe. I'm just trying to do one good thing today. Maybe that's enough. The space around him began to stabilize. The wild colors and impossible shapes were still there, but they weren't trying to hurt him anymore. They were just strange and beautiful, like art painted by someone who didn't follow normal rules. I don't understand you, the voice said quietly. I don't understand your species. You see the same horrors I see. You know the same truths I know, but you do not break. You do not give up. Why? Jinwoo smiled. Because giving up is boring. He said, what's the point of being alive if you're just going to sit around feeling sorry for yourself? But the pain, the voice said, the suffering, the knowledge that everything ends. Yeah, that stuff is hard, Jinwoo agreed. But there's also ice cream and sunsets, and the way your sister laughs when she hears a funny joke, and the feeling you get when you solve a problem that seemed impossible. I mean, these things are small, the voice said. Temporary, meaningless. Maybe, Jinwoo said, but they're real, and they're happening right now, and right now is all we really have. His ship's instruments showed that he was very close to the Void Keeper's core now. Just a few more minutes of flying, and he would be there. I'm going to touch your core, he said. Not because I want to conquer you or dominate you, but because I want to meet you. Really meet you. Not the scary mask you wear, but the real you underneath. The voice said nothing, but Jinwoo could feel something like surprise coming from it. In all the thousands of years it had existed, no one had ever said anything like that to it. Are you ready? Jinwoo asked gently. The silence stretched on, but for the first time, it didn't feel hostile. It felt like the quiet before something new and important was about to happen. As Jinwoo's ship approached the center of the void sector, the space around him began to change again. But this time, it was different. Instead of attacking him, twisted reality seemed to be showing him something. The darkness peeled away like layers of an onion. Behind the scary mask of the Void Keeper, Jinwoo began to see something else, something that made his heart hurt with understanding. The Void Keeper was not a monster. It was something much sadder. "Do you see me now?" the voice asked quietly. "Do you see what I really am?" Jinwoo saw. In the center of the void sector, floating alone in the twisted space, was a being of pure light and thought. It was beautiful and ancient and incredibly lonely. "How long have you been here?" Softly. "Since before your son was born," the voice replied. "Since before your species learned to walk upright, I've been here alone, waiting. Waiting for what? For someone who would not run away screaming? For someone who would not try to use me for power? For someone who would simply ... stay." The light grew brighter, and Jinwoo could see more of the Void Keeper's story. It had not always been alone. Long ago, it had lived among others of its kind. They had been explorers and teachers, beings who helped younger species grow and learn, but something had happened. A great war between cosmic forces that humans couldn't even imagine. The Void Keeper's people had been destroyed or scattered to the far corners of the universe. It had fled here to this empty space between stars, and had been hiding ever since. I created the challenge," the voice said sadly. "I offered rewards to anyone who could approach me, but I also made myself seem terrible and dangerous. Wanted beings to come to me, but I was afraid of what they might do if they got close." "So you've scared them away," Jinwoo said. "Every single one. For 1,000 years, beings have come here seeking power and glory. They wanted to conquer me, to use me, to take my strength for themselves. When I showed them what I really was, they could not handle it. They broke under the weight of cosmic truth." Jinwoo's ship was very close now. He could see the Void Keeper's core, a swirling ball of light that pulsed like a heartbeat. "But you are different," the voice continued. "You do not seek power. You do not want to conquer anything. You came here to meet me, not to use me." "Why?" Jinwoo thought about it. "Because being alone is the worst thing I can imagine," he said. "If I had been by myself for 1,000 years, I would want someone to come visit me too." The light pulsed. Brighter. "Your species is strange. You see suffering, and you try to help. You see loneliness, and you offer friendship. You see problems, and you try to solve them. Most beings in the galaxy try to avoid difficult things. You run toward them. We're not that special," Jinwoo said. "We just don't like giving up." "No," the voice said firmly. "You are special. You are more special than you know." Through his ship's radio, Jinwoo heard a faint sound. It was his daughter, Yuna, singing a lullaby he had taught her. Somehow her voice was reaching him across the vast distance of space. "My daughter," he said, smiling. "She's only 5 years old, but she's not afraid of anything. She thinks the universe is full of friends she hasn't met yet." "She is right," the voice said. "There are many lonely beings in the cosmos. Many who have been waiting for someone to find them." Jinwoo's ship was almost at the core now. He could reach out and touch it if he wanted to. "What happens if I touch your core?" he asked. "I do not know," the voice admitted. "No one has ever gotten this close before. But I think something good will happen. Something that has not happened in a very long time." Jinwoo heard another voice through the radio. It was Seojin, an old storyteller from his hometown. Seojin had always said that the best stories were the ones where someone helped someone else, even when it was hard. "This is a good story," Jinwoo said to himself. "This is the kind of story Seojin would like." He reached out toward the core. The light was warm and welcoming, like sunlight through a window on a cold day. "Wait," the voice said suddenly. "Before you touch my core, you should know something. The other beings who tried this challenge, they wanted me to give them power over star systems. They wanted to rule and conquer. But you, ... what do you want?" Jinwoo stopped, his hand just inches from the core. "I want you to not be alone anymore," he said. "I want you to have friends. I want you to be happy." The silence that followed was different from all the other silences. It was not empty or hostile or confused. It was full of wonder and surprise and something that might have been hope. In all my years, the voice said softly, no one has ever said anything like that to me. No one has ever wanted me to be happy just for the sake of being happy. Well, Jinwoo said, that's what friends do. They want good things for each other. Friends, the voice repeated, like it was tasting the word. Yes, I think I would like to have friends. The core pulsed with warm light. Around them, the void. The sector began to change. The twisted space became less chaotic. The dark corners filled with gentle colors. It was still strange and impossible, but it no longer felt frightening. You ready? Jinwoo asked. Yes, the voice said. I am ready. Jinwoo reached out and touched the core. The moment his fingers made contact, everything changed. Light exploded through the void sector, not harsh and blinding, but warm and welcoming. The light carried with it feelings of joy and relief and gratitude. But most of all, it carried the feeling of no longer being alone. Thank you, the voice said, and now it sounded different. Not ancient and terrible, but young and hopeful. Thank you for not running away. Thank you for letting me stay, Jinwoo replied. Around them, the universe seemed to smile. The moment Jinwoo touched the Void Keeper's core, everything in the universe seemed to hold its breath. Light spread out from the center of the void sector like ripples in a pond. But this was not ordinary light. This was the light of understanding, of connection, of an ancient loneliness finally coming to an end. Oh, the Void Keeper said, and its voice was full of wonder. Oh, I had forgotten what this felt like. What felt like? Jinwoo asked. His hand was still touching the core, and he could feel warmth spreading through his whole body. Joy, the Void Keeper said simply. I had forgotten what joy felt like. Around them, the void sector continued to transform. The twisted space became beautiful instead of frightening. Stars that had been hidden began to shine. Planets that had been dark started to glow with soft light. It was as if the whole region was waking up from a long, sad dream. The 3 star systems, Jinwoo said suddenly. The reward you promised. I don't want them. You do not want them? The Void Keeper asked, confused. I want you to keep them. Jinwoo said, you've been alone for so long. Should have beautiful places to live in. Maybe someday, when you're ready, you can invite visitors to come see them. The light from the core grew even brighter. You would give up such a prize? 3 entire star systems. They were never mine to take, Jinwoo said. They were yours to give, and I think you should give them to yourself. You deserve to have nice things. For a moment, the Void Keeper said nothing. Then slowly, it began to laugh. Not the terrible laughter from before, but the kind of laughter that came from pure happiness. You humans, it said. You wonderful, impossible humans. You come to the most feared entity in the galaxy, and you try to give it presents. Is that weird? Jinwoo asked. It is the most wonderful thing that has ever happened to me, the Void Keeper replied. Through his ship's radio, Jinwoo heard voices calling to him. The signal was getting stronger as the void sector became more stable. Jinwoo, it was Mira. Jinwoo, can you hear us? What's happening? We're seeing impossible readings from the void sector. It's like the whole region is lighting up. I'm here, Jinwoo said into his radio. I'm safe, and I made a friend. A friend. That was Do-yoon from Earth. What do you mean, a friend? The Void Keeper, Jinwoo said. It's not scary anymore. It was just lonely. Really, really lonely. The Void Keeper is your friend? Hyen's voice came through the radio. The ancient entity that has terrorized the galaxy for 1,000 years. Is your friend? Yes, Jinwoo said simply. And I think it would like to be friends with everyone else too if they give it a chance. I would like that very much, the Void Keeper said. But I think it will take time. The galaxy has been afraid of me for so long, they will need to see that I have changed. How about we start small? Jinwoo suggested. Maybe you could visit Earth sometime. We could introduce you to people slowly. Show them that you're not dangerous. I would like to meet your daughter, the Void Keeper said. The one who sings. Her voice is beautiful. Yuna would love to meet you, Jinwoo said. She's always excited to meet new friends. Alarms were going off as alarms were going off. The ancient sensors that had been watching the void sector for centuries were showing readings that made no sense. The region that had been twisted and dangerous was now stable and bright. Ambassador Velkin stood in the Great Hall, staring at the displays with all four of his arms hanging limp at his sides. "This is impossible," he said. "The void sector it's beautiful. The energy readings are peaceful, welcoming, even." Other aliens were gathering around the displays. Some were afraid, others were curious. Few were starting to look excited. "Human did it," said the crystal alien. "Somehow the human actually did it." "But how?" asked the scaled alien. "How did he succeed where we all failed?" "Maybe," said a small alien that had never spoken before, "maybe he succeeded because he did not try to conquer. Maybe he succeeded because he tried to understand." Back in the void sector, Jinwoo was getting ready to return home. His ship was working perfectly now. The strange effects that had made navigation impossible were gone. "Will you be okay here by yourself?" he asked the Void Keeper. "I will not be by myself," the Void Keeper replied. "I will be by myself with hope. And that is very different from being by myself with despair." "You could come with me," Jinwoo offered. "You could see Earth, meet my family. Someday," the Void Keeper said. "But first, I need to prepare. I need to learn how to be around others again. I need to remember how to be a friend instead of a frightening force." "Take your time," Jinwoo said. "We'll be here when you're ready." As his ship began to leave the void sector, Jinwoo felt something he hadn't expected. He felt sad to be leaving his new friend behind. "Hey," he said into the radio. "I'll come back to visit, okay?" Friends visit each other. "I would like that very much," the Void Keeper said. "And Jinwoo, thank you. Thank you for seeing me as I really am, not as the mask I wore." "Thank you for taking the mask off," Jinwoo replied. His ship broke free of the void sector and back into normal space. Behind him, the region that had been known as the most dangerous place in the galaxy was now glowing with gentle light. It looked like a beacon, calling to anyone who might be lost or alone. "Mission Control," Jinwoo said into his radio. "This is Jinwoo, I'm heading home." "About time," Mira said, and he could hear the smile in her voice. "We were getting worried." "Need to worry," Jinwoo said. "Everything worked out fine. Better than fine, actually." As he flew back toward Earth, Jinwoo thought about what had happened. The galaxy had expected him to fail. They had expected him to be destroyed or driven insane like all the others. Instead, it made a friend. That was the human way, he realized. When other species saw a problem, they tried to fight it or avoid it. When humans saw a problem, they tried to understand it. When other species saw an enemy, they prepared for war. When humans saw an enemy, they wondered if maybe that enemy was just someone who needed help. It didn't always work. Sometimes enemies really were enemies. Sometimes problems really couldn't be solved. But sometimes, just sometimes, reaching out a hand in friendship was exactly what the universe needed. "Jinwoo," came a new voice through the radio. It was Yuna. His daughter. "Hi, sweetheart," he said. "Daddy's coming home." "Did you make a new friend?" she asked. "Yes," he said. "I made a very special friend. And someday, when they're ready, I'll introduce you to them." "I can't wait," Yuna said. "I bet they're really nice." "They are," Jinwoo said. "They've just been alone for a long time and forgot how to show it." As Earth grew larger in his window, Jinwoo smiled. The galaxy would never be the same. The Void Keeper was no longer a source of fear, but a potential ally. Somewhere in the void sector, an ancient being was learning how to hope again. All because someone had reached out a hand in friendship, instead of raising a fist in anger. All because someone had chosen to see the person behind the mask. All because sometimes the greatest victory was not conquering your enemy, but helping them remember how to be your friend. The ship flew on toward home, carrying with it the news that would change everything. The most feared entity in the galaxy had been defeated not by force or cunning, but by simple human kindness. And that, Jinwoo thought, was exactly the kind of impossible thing that humans did best.